Alright guys, Gets Pwned here, and welcome to the fourth video in my series on wormhole hunting. Today we'll be putting all that we have learned so far in this series together and going deep into wormhole space. We will start by scanning down a wormhole in high sec and jumping in. This will not be a wormhole I've been through, so anything can happen and you guys will be along for the ride. Once inside, we will map out the system and decide where to go next. Ideally, we will be going multiple holes deep into J-space and then following our bookmarks back to the same high-sec system we came in from. But like I said, anything can happen. We could run into hostiles, our hole returning home could close, or maybe the first system we enter is just a dead end. If the first wormhole doesn't work out, we will find another until I'm able to fully demonstrate the process of navigating multiple wormhole systems and returning home safely. So with that being said, let's jump right in. But first, a quick recap. Before diving headfirst in a wormhole, we need to make sure we are flying the right ship with the right fit. So, if you remember back to my first video in the series, we talked about ships and fittings. So I'm in my Caldari Buzzard here with my Covert Ops Cloak, Sister's Expanded Probe Launcher with my combat probes. Got my prop mod, a couple of boosters, some boosters for scanning in the rig slots, and some nanofibers to give me some quick line times. So hopefully if we get into a sticky situation, we'll be able to just warp out and cloak and we'll be fine. Secondly, we need to maintain situational awareness the entire time we are inside. Remember, there's no local. We're only going to have our scanning tools to rely on. So let's get started here. So I'm in a high-sec system. We're going to look at our probe scanner. We're currently cloaked, so I'm going to need to decloak before I can launch probes. Get them out there and recloak here. So we have 3 signatures we can look at in this system. I'm going to start down here and see what we can come up with. Okay. Narrow our scan size down. And we should see what this thing is here. And we do have a wormhole. So narrow our size down again. This is a scan difficulty 2, so those boosters are going to really help us out. And there we go. We have ourselves a wormhole. So something I forgot to mention in the scanning video is anytime you're done scanning in a system, we want to make sure we recover our probes. We don't want to leave them out there in space, especially if you're running Sister's combat probes. They're a little bit on the pricey side. So one thing I like to do when I'm doing this is not close this, because I want to keep an eye on these signatures, especially once we get inside. It's nice to have this available so we can warp straight to different wormholes after we get everything scanned down. I'm going to go ahead and jump up to this thing and take a look.
Warp drive active.
Alright, so let's get some information. Right click, show info. So this is a lead into unknown parts of space. It's beginning to decay. Has not yet had its stability increase, so we should be safe to pass through this and not have to worry about it closing on the way back. So let's take this X702 and take a look in our database here. So this is going to lead to a C3 J-space system. Awesome. So all you got to do, right click, enter wormhole. It's going to give you a little message here, but we know the risks here, so we're going to hit yes and go ahead and jump in. Okay, so nothing up on D-scan. Zoom out a little bit, make sure there's nobody sitting here looking for us. We're still cloaked for a second. A bunch of cosmic signatures. So the first thing we're going to do is create a bookmark. I will explain these here in just a second. So now we have a nice bookmark to get out. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to pick a planet, right click, warp to within 100, immediately launch drones, immediately cloak. Since we won't be able to launch our drones once we're, if you're sitting somewhere cloaked, good to go ahead and get them out there while we know we're going to be uncloaked for a minute. Alright, so I jumped to a random planet here, and so we're sitting here cloaked. We're safe, but I want to make sure we're even safer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create myself a safe. In case you don't know how to do this, basically want to warp to another anything. So I'm going to take this other planet here that's 20 AU away. I'm going to right click, warp to within 100. So we know it's 20 AU. I'm going to keep an eye on this distance down here, and when we're about halfway, I'm going to go ahead and click submit. So right there at 12, click submit. Okay, then what I'm going to do is immediately warp to within 0 of this bookmark.
Warp drive active.
So this is going to be a safe location that nobody can warp to. So I will be nice and secure just to sit here for as long as I need to scan down all these signatures. Cool, so if we take a look at our map now, we can see that I'm sitting here. Here's my "you are here," and I am nowhere near anything. And right above me is my exit bookmark that I created. So kind of my naming convention in this process is, I'll show you here. I'm going to edit this one. It's going to be 1. I'm going to call it safe. So the first number is going to be the increment of wormhole I've jumped into. So this is the first hole. So everything is going to start with a 1. Then there's going to be some details behind it, which I'll explain a little more as we get deeper. This first one, if I warp to that, that's my exit hole back to the system I started in. This one, of course, is my safe. So now that we're sitting here, we're cloaked in a safe location. We're free to kind of just take our time and do what we need to do. So first thing I'm going to do is look at this J system here that we're sitting in. So I'm in 132907. So let's come over here, J132907. And we have a class 3. We already knew that when we came in. So we can see there is no system effect in this system. And it does have 1 static, which is, let's see here, it leads to a low sec system. So that static's not going to be useful for us, but we can still scan down these signatures safely that we're on our safe and see where we can go from here. So I'm going to just pick one of these at random here and just get to work on it. So just like in high sec, same process. We're going to center up on our signature there the best we can. And remember this giant red sphere, we're going to make sure we encompass that with an 8 AU probe size and click analyze. Right, remember to narrow down your size each pass. we do have a wormhole. This is a scan difficulty 1, so this should be, we should pick it up right here. And there we go, we have one found. And also I forgot to mention the first thing I like to normally do. So you remember we created our bookmark on the way in, so we're here on our safe. Here's our bookmark to our exit, but there's no wormhole there. But one of these signatures is that wormhole. So one of the things we can do here is take our probes. Let's get right down on this this bookmark we made here. So we can go ahead and take this guy off the list because we know exactly where he's at. If we can get our probes to scan that area properly. It helps to zoom in quite a bit. So that's pretty close. I'm going to go down to 1 AU and hit analyze, and we should just get this one straight away. And there we go. It took one of the signatures off the list, and we don't have to scan that one all the way down because it is done. So you see we picked up this other one here we know is a wormhole, so let's do that one. Go ahead and zoom out, go to top view, move our probes over it. And since we already picked it up, we can start with a 4 AU size on this guy. There we go, got a little closer. It is a difficulty 1, so this should be pretty quick. And analyze. Also, we picked up a gas site on here, right over here. So I'm gonna let this finish real quick. And we're gonna go ahead, right click, and ignore that gas site. We're not looking for that. So we finish this one up. Let's make another one. I'm going to ignore that one for now. Let's go for this guy here. Okay, we have no information, so we need to go back up to the 8 AU. Analyze. Remember to check our D-scan. Oh, so there's my probes, but there's somebody else in here. There's an Astero that's not cloaked for some reason, and he's got some Acolyte probes. And remember, we talked about this, but haven't demonstrated. We know there's somebody here with us, and nothing's in local. So that is a gas site. We're going to remove that. Let's take this one way out here. We've already picked up some information, so it's got a smaller size, so we can actually know we haven't. So let's leave it to 8 AU. Ooh, and we picked up a structure of some sort. So somebody is living here, calling this place home. Spacebar for our D-scan. I can only see my probes at the moment. So the Astero is either cloaked or moved on or something. So there are our scan size. is a wormhole. Difficulty 1, so we should get it here. And depending on your trained skills and the fit of your ship, this may be slower or quicker for you. It just depends on those factors. Drop that down. There we go. There's multiples right here, so I'm gonna go for this guy. You should get a lot of information on this pass. Remember to keep that D-scan going. I mean, we are sitting in a safe, but it is nice information to have. Just to know if we need to be a little bit more alert. Okay, so lower our scan size. Looks good. Yeah, so there's definitely structures in this wormhole. Okay, we got a relic site. We don't care about that. So let's move on to this one. Bump up to 4 AU. Okay, so I talked about this in my scanning video. I'm going to take the one that's further away, which is usually correct. Drop our scan size. And there we go. Drop it one more time. And we came up with a gas site here. We can ignore that. Okay, just one more to go. So we got quite a few wormholes to take a look at in this system. And gas site, so we're going to ignore that. So there we have our possible wormholes. So first thing I want to do is look at the one that's connected to my exit out. So the signature code on that is the IHL. I'm just looking at the first three. So what I'm going to do here is edit my bookmark here. And I'm going to put IHL, so that way I know not to worry about that one, because we already know where that one leads. So that's part of my naming scheme there, which we'll get to as we progress here. So let's start taking a look at these things. So everything's scanned down. I'm going to pull my probes back in so we don't forget them. And I'm going to go ahead and shrink this map so I can still see my list here. So ignoring IHL, I'm going to take the one that's close to me there at 5 AU. I'm going to go ahead and warp to within 20 and see what happens here.
Active.
D-scan. D-scan, nothing. So we do have a code on this wormhole. Let's take a look. So this is dangerous, so this is a C4 or C5. It is beginning to decay. Has not yet had its mass significantly disrupted. So this one's not going to close very soon on us, but let's look at this T405 and see what we can get on it. T405. So leads to a class 4. So we knew it was 4 or 5, but now we know it's definitely to a class 4. So what I'm going to do is add a bookmark. We're still in hole 1. So we know this is a C4. I'm going to put in the signature ID. So HXK. And a little slash, and then T405. So that way if we're looking around, we know when I jump to the next hole, if we want to decide which one to go through, we have that information. We know which signature it is, so we don't keep going back thinking we need to map this one. And then if we want to double check that ID, we can do that. So that's over here in our bookmarks. We have that one documented, so we're going to move on. Let's go ahead and take a look at this UZJ here.
Warp drive
See what
active.
that one looks like. And then one of these is going to be that static to low sec. D-scan. Looks good. Also, I kind of like to zoom out just in case. I can see somebody sitting there. So this is U210. This is that static. So let's take a look here. Tells us it goes to low security. And that's about all we need to know on this one. Because we're not concerned with going through this one, but we're gonna go ahead and add the bookmark. So hole 1. I'm gonna put S underscore for static and then low security. And then I'm just gonna put the UZJ, the signature ID, so I don't really care to put any more information than that on this one, because we're not going to be doing that one. We're not going to be doing anything with that one, rather. So let's move along here. And this is why I put these. So we've been to these. We know what these 3 are. So we do not know what this EWV is. So we're going to hop over to that one and take a look.
Warp drive active.
Pop your D-scan and take a look. So this one is numbered. Let's show info. So this is either a C1, C2, or C3. And this one doesn't seem to be closing anytime soon. But let's look at N968. So N968. So this goes to a C3, which is cool. So let's make a bookmark. 1-C3. Signature ID is EWV/N968. So remember, signature ID, wormhole ID. Okay, so that should be, okay, we have one more. So it's going to be this LNS signature we haven't been to yet. So warped within 20.
Warp drive active.
And I do 20 just in case there's somebody sitting there that I'm not aware of. I mean, not pick anybody up on D-scan, and I didn't see any ships when I was doing my probe scanning, so I feel pretty safe in this system. But I always pop D-scan when I land on a new hole. So this is a K162. This is a generic exit hole. So leads into unknown. Reaching the end. So if we remember back from our previous Reaching the end is less than 4 hours, so we're not going to be too concerned with this one. We don't know where it goes. We have 2 good options to go through to continue our journey, and if I was getting serious about the search, I would pop through and see what's on the other side, but for the purposes of this video, we're just going to leave that one alone. In fact, I'm not even going to bookmark that one. So I think I want to go into that C4 system, because one thing I know about C4s is they definitely don't have a connection to known space. So any wormholes we find in there are going to lead to another wormhole space system. So we want to continue our journey. I want to get a couple holes deep, maybe 3, maybe 4. We'll see what happens. But I think that's going to be our destination here. So I'm going to go ahead and since we know we're going through and we were just there, we're going to warp to 0 and just jump straight into that system.
Warp drive active.
So we need to be a little bit careful just in case somebody new popped up on that hole. Seriously doubt it. There's nobody here. Pop up my D scan coming in. Everything's good. And also warping to 0 of a bookmark is still going to put us a ways out, so that's fine there. So I'm going to go ahead and just click enter hole, and it's going to take us straight in. Rather slowly, I might add. If I was feeling risky, I'd turn off my cloak and use my prop mod, but I'm in no rush. When you're doing this stuff, you need to be, like I said, situational awareness. There's no local. I don't know if anybody's in this system. Nobody's on my D scan at 360 max range. Nobody's on grid showing up on overview. Feel safe, but just to make sure, I want to keep cloaked. When I'm searching, I want to be cloaked as much as possible. The only time I uncloak is just for that brief period after I enter the hole, when I'm aligning to jump out to the first celestial. So nothing on grid. I do see a bestower within 14. Let me drop this down to 1. He's not on the hole, but he is somewhere to be. And there is a ton of signatures in here, so add location. I'm going to do 2, so this is our second hole, and then I'm going to put exit to 1. So that tells me that is going to exit me back out to my first wormhole system I entered. Click submit. I'm going to pick a random planet here, warp to within 100, launch probes, cloak.
Active.
So we're only uncloaked for 1, maybe 2 seconds there, and then we're gone. D-scan, so that's my sister's combat probes. Okay, so I'm going to take this this gas planet here, warp to within 100, get a bookmark ready.
Warp drive active.
Like I said before, I'm going to try to get to about half to create my safe here. So 30, 23, 15 right there. So we landed here. I'm going to hop back over to my safe.
Warp drive active.
Alright, so we are good to go. We're sitting on our safe. Our probes are out. Got a ton of signatures to scan down in this one, so I'm not going to bore you guys sitting through that, so we'll do a little time lapse here, and I will see you once I got all these scanned down. everything scanned down. There was a bunch of gas sites in there, but there's also a bunch of wormholes. So that's good news for our journey here. So always remember, whenever you're done scanning, recall your probes so you don't leave them. And one thing we forgot to do before we started scanning everything down was search out this system number. So we have 224754. So J224754. Class 4, we knew that coming in. So no system effect. Let's take a look at these statics. We have a class 3. And we have a class 2 static as well. So we may want to refer back to this 247 and this 766 when we're looking at the holes here in a second. Alright, so in my process there, I did see a frigate roaming around. He was on the hole we came in, and then he was somewhere else that I couldn't quite pinpoint. So we need to take a little extra care just in case on this one. So I think what we're going to do is, so if we remember here, and also in the scanning process I marked the hole we came in, so that's SDD, so that's this one here. So we don't need to go visit that one. But I'm going to start off with this EVH because I'm the closest to it. So let's take a look at that one. Let's warp within 20.
Warp drive active.
Pop our D scan. So seems clear. So we have Q003. That's not one of the statics. So this one needs to null. So we're gonna, I guess, mark that one just so we don't come back to it. So add a location. We're in hole 2. So I'm gonna put NS for null space. And then this was EVH, or no, excuse me, EVF. So that's all I'm going to put. It's just I'm not interested in going into nullsec. We're looking for wormholes to further our journey here. So let's go to the next one here. Let's go to the VCM.
Warp drive active.
Let's see what we have there. Randomly pop on our D scan. So we have a bestower roaming about. D scan. Let's narrow our range. He's not within 5 AU of us, so he's not on this hole. So this is a K162, so this is another generic exit. So we're gonna mark this one, but we have a bunch of other options, so not too interested in exploring this one. So hole 2, we have I'll just put a question mark because we don't know where it goes. This is VCM / K162. Save that. Okay. So let's hop over to VLT. We have not been to that one.
Warp drive active.
D-scan. Lower the range. So he's not within 1, but he isn't within 5. Okay, so this is in 766. I believe that was one of the statics, yes. So that's the, I believe the C2 static. Let's take Take a look, unknown, so it's a 1, 2, or 3. We think it's the 2. Yeah, so let's just mark this one as 2 static underscore, we believe it's a C2. So this is VLT, and I took that down in 766. Awesome. Okay, so we have not been to MWH. Let's head over there.
Warp drive active.
Okay, nobody within 5 of us. Q003. This is not one of the statics. So let's take a look. This one needs to null sec. Okay, so let's mark it. 2-NS for null sec. This is bookmark, or signature ID MWH/Q003. Okay. So we've not been to the GMU. Let's head over there.
Warp drive active.
D-scan. It's not within 5. Okay, this is C247. So this is the C3 static. Unknown, so we know it's 1, 2, or 3, but we know by the ID that it's a C3 static. So let's mark this one. So hole 2, static underscore C3. This is GMU on the signatures, and hole is C247. All right. So we've not been to the BEV. Let's head over there and take a look.
Warp drive active.
Remember to keep popping that D-scan. It's another Q003. So I think that's null sec. That is a null sec. Okay, so we'll mark it. Hole 2. Null sec. This is BEV/Q003. Okay, so that is all of the holes in this system. So I'm gonna hop back over to the safe so we can have a little talk here.
Warp drive active.
So normally at this point I would be deciding which what the next hole I'm gonna jump through is. Just looking at what we have here, I would probably hop through that C3 static and take a look in there and see what's going on. So some of the things you can do here is you can pick a hole, and you notice we came through the C4 from our first hole. So if we wanted, we could backtrack and then take that C3 and see where it leads, or we can explore out some of these. We don't want any of these null sects. And then there's the 162 there that I'm probably not going to mess with. I think there was a 162 in the first system as well. So if we're searching for wormholes with meeting specific criteria, so maybe our corporation or alliance is looking for a wormhole space to call home, so we may have some specific criteria we were looking for. So we would jump around hole to hole, hopefully find a bunch of holes, and if one doesn't work out, we can backtrack and take one of our other options. But for the purpose of this video, I think I've explained it well enough. So what you would do is the next hole, say we wanted to go through this C3, we would take the same process. We would jump through, make a bookmark, we would name it 3 because it's our third increment in, and then use the same naming convention moving forward just so we know where everything's at. And then if we were to find something we liked and we wanted to get back to it, we could follow our breadcrumbs back to it. But so I think for the purposes of this video, that's pretty good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to head back, back to high security where we started from. So if you remember, we marked, when we come through a hole, we mark it as exit to 1. So when we go through into a third hole, we would put 3-exit to 2. And so on and so forth as we go through multiple holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and head home. So I'm going to take this exit to 1. We're going to warp to within 0. And because it was a hole that we came through, it's not going to be 20 kilometers away. It's going to be right on the hole. So if there's somebody sitting there, we're going to be able to warp through it pretty quickly. And then our cloak's not going to deactivate unless we get within 2,000 of somebody. Pop the D-scan. For our exit here, I'm going to lower it to 5. So this dude's within 5. So I'm going to go to 1. So nobody's within 1 here. We're actually 8K off of the hole. We're going to go ahead and right-click and enter. We got within 2,000, so it decloaked us, only for a brief second there. Right here, pop our D-scans. Looks good. So now we're back in our first hole, so we want our exit to high security here. So we're going to warp to within 0 of that hole.
Warp drive active.
Now if I was super concerned, I would pull out my probes and scan that hole down, but I think we're safe. We're just gonna hop out. While we're warping, I'm gonna pop to 14, nothing. Still nothing, so we're safe to exit. And you see here, this is I didn't mark it coming in, but this is a K162, so the thing about the K162s is it could be anything. We know exactly where this one goes. But that's kind of why a lot of times I will avoid those holes when I'm looking around, because it could pop you out in high sec, could pop you out in low sec, could pop you out in a C6. I think you just don't know what it's going to be. But there we are. So we are back in high security space, right where we started from. And I'm going to just warp off to a planet here just to finish our conversation.
Warp drive active.
I'm just in the habit of cloaking, even if I'm in high security. If I have a covert ops cloak, I'm using that thing. But anyway, I think that about does it for this video. Hope you found this information useful and are now capable of navigating inside a wormhole space. In the next video, we'll be simulating getting lost in wormhole space, and I'll show you how to find your way back home safely. Hope to see you there, and until then, fly safe.